Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. My name is Andre Anderson. I am both host and founder of BSTL. And of course, by now you should know that BSTL stands for Building Something That Lasts. And of course, it's the fall now, so we got to get a little bit bundled up a little bit. I like kind of the fall stuff. The hoodies are coming out, the track pants and all that other stuff. So this is my season right here. So I want to jump right into it. I've got a friend. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. I won't tell you how long. I'm willing to tell you how old I am. But if I tell you how old I am and then tell you that he's a lot older than I am, then you're going to know. And this is a guy that likes to pretend like he's still my age. So it's okay. Ron Kellman, what's going on?
Oh, good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man, Ron. It's good to have you on the BSTL podcast. This is going to be a great conversation. Now, Ron, as we jump right into this thing, I want you, if you're willing to anyways, to just share two things about you, yourself. They could be things that people know. They could be even things that people don't know, but don't share the stuff that's going to get you in trouble.
Dre, thank you, brother. Appreciate this. Hey, you know what? Two things about me. Well, I have two sons, two incredible young men that are my sons, Ethan and Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without their blessings.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And the other thing is being involved in a corporation that is going to take the world by storm.
Yeah. Well, let's start there before we get into our topic. Or maybe it'll come up. No, it won't. It will come up. So we don't have to do it right here yet. So today we're on, Ron, because we want to have a conversation. And of course, in these conversations that I've been having now for a year and a half now, we've been talking about leadership. We've been talking about organizational leadership. This is the thing that this podcast does. And of course, today we want to talk about leading in uncharted waters. And basically, you're the right guy for this conversation. And of course, now you can introduce some of what you're doing. You're doing some really incredible things that probably, I don't know that anybody has done this kind of way before. And certainly my access to you has allowed me to hear the development of what you're working towards. So why don't you just go ahead and share the story, and then we'll talk about this leading in uncharted waters.
Sure, thank you. So what I'm involved with is a sport called road tennis. Most people would not have heard of road tennis. It's a sport that's indigenous to Barbados.
Okay.
So it was created, some folks say in the 1920s, some say the 1930s. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
But I can tell you, we had a demonstration in Aurora, Ontario in 2019. September 2019, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we had bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what came afterwards was even worse.
Okay.
So COVID came and pushed, road tennis out of the way. Didn't think about road tennis again until 2022. Actually, March 2022, when we were sitting on a call with the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame, the Ministry of Sport in Barbados, my buddy Errol Griffith in Barbados. And we were talking about how do we bring sports to the forefront that will help Barbados.
Okay.
So you're talking about a country that's known for its academics, not its athletics per se or sports per se.
Yeah.
However, at this particular moment, Errol shouted out, "What about road tennis?"
All right.
I'm like, what about road tennis? We found out, a couple of days later, because I started badgering the CEO of the Sports Hall of Fame about, hey, let's get road tennis into your induction ceremony in May of that year, where you have Daniel Nestor going in as the greatest Canadian tennis player, and all the folks will be wearing suits and dresses.
Yeah, nice.
So Mark said to me after plenty of badgering, yeah, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in, got a special court made for the induction ceremony that night. And we had road tennis at the Metro Toronto Convention Center.
Nice.
And so can you imagine you're wearing your finest to a black tie gala event.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden you get to sweat playing a sport called road tennis? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
So that's how we got started with road tennis in this format.
Mm-hmm.
So after Mark said yes, and after plenty of badgering, we went to work.
Okay.
And it was an incredible success. The suits enjoyed the sport. The women in their dresses enjoyed playing road tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the backstory of road tennis, it's indigenous Barbados, as I've stated, but it's born out of poverty and colonialism and racism.
Yeah.
So how do you now put this sport on the map?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ron Kellman figured it out.
And I love that, Ron, because this is a sport that is birthed out of adversity. And of course, your background is Barbadian, right?
Correct.
We grew up saying Bajan, but now I know a little bit better, so now I got to call it for what it is, right? But this also qualifies you as an individual that now has the capacity to share with us and educate us on what it means to lead in unchartered waters. So, take us on this journey. And again, we're not just talking about road tennis, but, we're also helping young entrepreneurs, people who are not cookie cutter thinkers. We want to help them to be able to say, okay, I know it looks like it's huge, but we can do something with this. So help us out. What does this look like as a process?
It's an awesome process. Like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of work that's gone into this, I was telling my buddy Errol in Barbados this, look, this has been all the years of work that's finally coming together on this project that nobody saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
So even the school boards had no knowledge of this coming.
Yeah.
So now we're actually waiting on a legal document from the York Region District School Board.
Yeah.
Let's kind of backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
April 28th, we did a launch with the health and physical education at the York Board. We did a launch up at Bill Carruthers.
Mm-hmm.
We had 80 plus physical health teachers there, identity affirming physical education leaders there, partaking in road tennis for the first time ever. They had never heard of road tennis, furthermore partaking it that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the feedback just blew us away.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers are like, look, I want this in my building. I'm going back to my school today to tell my principal about this sport, road tennis, that I want inside our building.
Mm-hmm.
So said, so done. So schools started reaching out to me to come in and do demonstrations of road tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at the point where road tennis is being recognized in York Region.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also be recognized by OPHEA, which is the Ontario Physical Health Education Association.
All right, so let me jump in a little bit, right? Because I want to make sure that we approach this in almost a methodical kind of way, because I got my pen and I'm writing feverishly because I'm one and I am learning in this conversation. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, and maybe we want a little bit more clarity on this, is that you figure out that, look, this is a sport, even though it has its roots in Barbados, it's a sport, so we've got to find a way to get it into an institution that has a heavy value on physical education. So how does Ron then start getting into the school board? And really, it's not about the school board. I mean, this podcast goes all over the world, right? So it's not just about the school board, but it's about getting an idea, a concept into an established organization. What does that look like as a process?
So here's what it is. Road tennis is a barrier-free and inclusive sport. That's where you start to get the board's attention. Mm-hmm. So everyone can play. You don't need a lot of land mass to play this sport. 253 square feet is all you need. Mm-hmm. The costing is the most important part for a school. It's inexpensive to play. Mm-hmm. So now you've got a sport where mass participation is allowed. Mm-hmm. Economy is not a problem because there's no real cost. Well, there's a cost, but not much really. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay. So the school board, you start talking to the school board, and they're like, we love this. Mm-hmm. It's identity affirming, right? So now the story is being told, hey, road tennis and Barbados go hand in hand. But the important part here is the history of road tennis has to be told by the school boards. Mm-hmm. And this is where it becomes really cool. Because now little black boys and girls who don't know their history from the Caribbean can now learn about road tennis and how it came out of Barbados into Canada. And as we move along across the world. Mm-hmm. So for us, that's really the really important part there is the historical context of road tennis. And it's so interesting. This has caught the attention of a lot of people.
Yes.
CBC TV wants to do a story on road tennis, a sport they just heard about a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
The school board, we're doing a full-blown partnership with York. We're also in Peel as we start to move across the province of Ontario with road tennis. Mm-hmm. So the history of the sport will be told. Mm-hmm. And they're not hiding the fact that it's born out of racism, colonialism, and that's the important part we're not going to leave out.
Yeah.
And also, I've had the opportunity to be involved in like 4 or 5 recent newspaper articles that they've come to me asking about information on road tennis. Mm-hmm. It got to a point where the Toronto Star reached out to Professor Carl James at the Faculty of Education in York Region at York University to ask his opinion on road tennis. Mm-hmm. So it's catching people's attention. Mm-hmm. So also here's a really cool piece. Canadian Tire charity Jumpstart has given us funding to do a pilot project in the York Region Board. Mm-hmm. Andre, for a sport that's got 0 members playing it, how do you impress upon people the importance of this sport to get a grant? Mm-hmm. That's what we did.
Yeah. So, Ron, as I'm listening to you, there are a couple of things that jump out in this conversation, okay? Yes. Number one, it is clear that you have a passion for this sport, for the history of this sport, for the history of your people. And when I say your people, sure, we are both from Caribbean background, mine by way of Jamaica, and of course yours by way of Barbados. But then there's also this vision, right? Because remember, we're talking about how do we lead into uncharted waters, uncharted waters. Yes. And for you, it sounds like number one, passion, but then number 2, vision. Yes. So tell me, how does this guy Ron take an idea that very few people have ever heard of, and now he's got it on these different platforms in different spaces? And I'm not saying that it's not hard work, but it seems like a lot of things have happened fairly quickly as you're trying to create this new sport. Not create it, but at least introduce it to North America.
Yes, things have happened really, really fast. But again, it goes back to all the years of work that was put into other entities.
Okay.
So what you learn from the other entities, you can now bring forward into road tennis. So the work was done. The heavy lifting was done. Mm-hmm. So now you find yourself in a situation where, okay, you know what? We did all the planning. Everything was ready. Road tennis showed up as the perfect vehicle for the message. And that's what has become.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
So the message of road tennis now, I like to call it, that the barrier-free inclusiveness of road tennis is now ready to be rolled out to the world.
Yeah.
And, the business of road tennis will now be developed. When you start looking at the business of road tennis, people say, oh, look at the equipment, rackets and balls and net.
Yeah.
But then you say, no, that's just a small synopsis of road tennis.
Yeah.
You look at the curriculum in education. How does road tennis fit into the mathematics curriculum?
Yes.
How does it fit into the art curriculum?
Yes.
So this now allows us to work with the school board to bring the full package to the children, to our community.
Yeah.
And they can now say, wow, Barbados had this sport for over 100 years and it just sat there? This is an amazing sport.
Yeah.
As the country talks about having it become an Olympic sport, that's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere.
Sure.
And I told everyone, start with the children. So now you are in the very first school board in the world that will have road tennis being played.
So let's back up a little bit then, Ron. You said something that I want to make sure that we don't miss. The idea of transferable skills, right? So this is not your first rodeo in terms of entrepreneurship, right? So you have been doing other things, and even though you may not have known that at some point this road tennis thing is going to almost fall into your lap, there are other things that you were doing that you've been able to use perhaps to expedite how quickly this thing has been moving towards getting it global attention. So please explain the transferable skills, the pain of the past, all of those different things.
So the most important thing is building relationships. My relationship with the National Sports Hall of Fame came out of a relationship in baseball with my eldest son. Through a girlfriend of mine introduced me to a gentleman who was head of baseball in York region for Richmond Hill. This about 16, 17 years ago, our relationship was formed through baseball. So we learned to trust each other through participation and making decisions on a baseball diamond.
Right.
Now, we're from two different worlds. So this is a white male corporate lawyer, probably the best corporate lawyer in the country. But I didn't know back then that our relationship started with a girlfriend of mine who was his law school classmate would form this fashion. He's the longest serving member of the National Sports Hall of Fame. And I recall trying to get him to do something many, many years ago with me through sport. And he liked the idea, but, with these guys, it's like, there's nothing there. Don't worry about it. I'm not, he'll say, I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Well, lo and behold, he came back 15 years later.
1-5.
1-5.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as I'm saying, the trust was built through the relationship. And all these years later, he came back to me asking about something else. And look where it has led to.
Yeah, and I like that because the thing is, nothing that is going to happen well happens independently. I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely.
And these relationships that you have been forming for a long time with all kinds of people, right? So I know you, right? So I know that Ron is the type of guy that you will go somewhere and you'll see him there and you're like, what are you doing here?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not even like you look uncomfortable where you are. You're in the space. You're there.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those missed opportunities that people have, especially, I struggle with this idea around networking, and maybe I can explain it briefly. I do believe that it is important to network and connect with people, but not always for immediate personal gain, right?
Correct.
You've got to meet people and engage people, not because they become chess pieces on this greater journey of where you want to get to, but you just want to connect with people because why not? Why not be kind to your neighbor? Why not, reach out and just say hello? So this thing that you do very well, it's these connection pieces. I'll stop there.
Yes. And that's one thing I love about me, Andre. I get out and meet people. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for anything from you. I just want to say hello.
Yeah.
And that is it.
Yeah.
Take your phone number, take your email address, just reach out and say, hey, how are you? And that is it. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it's going to go, but I've opened the door. Mm-hmm. I was burned on a very large project in Jamaica with NCAA basketball.
Okay.
All right. So nobody would have thought that the Jamaica Classic that's held every November in Jamaica was my idea.
Oh, wow.
I paid for those guys to go to Jamaica the very first trip.
Wow.
I never thought I'd get burned, but I did. But it didn't stop me from moving forward.
Yeah.
But it was a lesson learned.
Yeah.
And you had to learn the lesson the hard way.
So, since you've added that experience to our conversation,
yes.
Sometimes we get burned because we're too trusting.
Right.
Some of the rules that govern business at times, as people of color, because we may not always know the spoken rules, the unspoken rules. When you reflect on even that, right? We're talking about this thing that goes to Jamaica basketball-wise.
Right.
What could you have done differently to not have been burnt?
I had a contract with the wrong guy.
Okay.
So what happened was the head coach at a major Division I university and I were friends. Going back to 1996.
I won't ask you how old you were then, but that's a long time. Yeah.
So coach had a guy on his staff. And coach said, he works for me, you can trust him. Well, I took coach's word for it. And I couldn't trust the individual. Now, the individual was fired from the university for what he did. But it didn't help me.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah.
But it told me, though, I was right for what I was doing.
Yes.
Even though somebody took it from me.
Yeah.
And I think, Andre, the greatest lesson from that is what God has taught me is don't worry, I got you. So basketball was taken from me, but he gave me road tennis and a bigger platform. So I might have cried for the pain of losing, an idea that would have been financially very well for me and my family at the point in time. But this, Dre, is in a bigger project.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's going to touch more people.
So you've now added some more, right? And I'm really enjoying our conversation. You've added two more things to this thing around leading in uncharted waters. Number one, your faith is important. But then number two is also resilience. Now, you can answer this in either way. Which one do you put first for you? And how has this now helped you to get back to another stage, as it were, where you're about to do the exact same thing?
Right. So, growing up in the church, Dre, the boys who grew up in the church, they're now young men. And God played a very important role in our family life. As an Adventist man, and, people don't understand that sometimes. but you have challenges in life.
Yes.
Sometimes you're going to make the right decision,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you hope the wrong decision turns out to be the right decision.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah.
So, never having lost faith in God,
Yes.
but not really. In the last, I guess, in a couple of years, I didn't lose faith, but I questioned God.
Mm-hmm.
But every time it comes back, God said, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how bad, you try to stray. He says, Ron, come back here.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what it is. I mean, when we ran into that day, I was like, it was fate that had Dre there,
Yeah.
running across the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I'm there in a meeting with two gentlemen,
Yeah.
and I got up and said, hey, Dre, what's up?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So God told me to go say hi to Dre.
That's
yes,
right.
I've known Dre a long time.
That's right.
But it was the connection again with Andre,
Mm-hmm.
which I hadn't seen since before COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so knowing that Dre is a great youth leader and an incredible human being,
Appreciate that, man.
God wanted me to talk to you that day.
Yeah.
And he said, go talk to Andre.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me why.
Sure.
He just said, go talk to Andre.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And only to find out the reason he wanted me to talk to Andre was so Andre could share with me some things that we had spoken about.
Yes.
That will help me with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely incredible, the message from God. Go talk to Pastor Andre.
Yeah. So, all right. So now the second part of the question then is the role of resilience. And by the way, I just need to say this. Yes, Ron is a little bit older than I am, but we've always had this great connection as kids growing up. He was definitely one of the major mentors in my life when I would have been younger, playing basketball, not necessarily trying to do anything professional, but just getting exercise in and creating community out of, the great sport of basketball. But we come back to this thing around resilience. How important is this? Because remember, you're not trying something that is being done. You're trying to do something that has not been done.
Right.
Tell me about the power of resilience in, because I don't think that this basketball thing that didn't happen in Jamaica, it falls on deaf ears or on a hollow ground. I think it's part of the preparation that leads you to everything else that you're doing right now. So what does resilience mean for you then?
Man, listen, Dre, there's nothing like it. You're going to fall, but you got to get back up. Yes. You're going to fall again.
Yeah.
You got to get back up.
Yeah.
So as you said, this isn't my first rodeo. I've fallen many a time, man.
Yeah.
It's been challenging.
Yes.
My personal story, in the last couple of years, it's been challenging.
Yes.
But I didn't stop.
Yeah.
I didn't stop. I was in family court, Dre. I didn't want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
The judge was wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't appeal it. I spoke to one of my friends, and he said, you know what? Let it go.
Yeah.
There's something better out there for you in what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said to me, yes, the judge was wrong. He doesn't know you.
That's right.
But this will show your true character.
Mm-hmm.
So I just let it go.
Mm.
I didn't appeal anything. They took everything. But that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some point in time in history, it will be revealed that I did nothing wrong and the judge was wrong.
Yeah.
And we'll just leave it at that. But this is a part of the resiliency.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to beat you up, but you got to stand up.
Yeah.
And what has happened to me now, by getting back up, I'm in a situation where now I'm involved in a project where I'm the leader of the project.
Yes.
I've got a team of people beside me, working with me, phenomenal team of people.
Yes.
But I'm driving
this
project.
Yeah.
And it's from the resiliency standpoint that I'm driving it. You're not going to take it from me.
Yeah.
That happened in Jamaica.
Yeah.
We learned from that.
It's not going to happen again.
No. This is different now. We corrected our mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and now the world is seeing what Ron Kellman's all about.
So, Ron Kellman, believe it or not, our time is almost up. But I want you to capture for us, what's the main thing you want us to leave from or take from this conversation that we've had? A great conversation, but I'm certain that you want us to have a takeaway with this.
For the young people listening, Andre,
Yeah.
don't stop dreaming.
Okay.
No dream is too big. It's never too big.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, but don't stop. Don't be afraid of getting knocked down.
Yes.
What I also want you to do is reach out to people.
Yes.
And learn from them. Everyone has something that they can share with you that's going to impact your life at some point in time.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to hear no.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Learn from the no.
Yeah.
Because no gives you an opportunity to get to a yes.
Yeah. That's true.
So in business, call the CEO at 7 o'clock in the morning on his office line because he's the only one there.
Yes.
You have to worry about the gatekeepers that time of the day.
That's right. Yeah.
All right? So this is the message of young people. Don't be afraid to make that call.
Yeah.
If you want something, go get it.
Yeah.
What if they say no? So what? You learned.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't go this way.
Yeah, but there's another way.
Absolutely. I can share with you, Dre,
Mm-hmm.
one last thing.
Yeah, sure.
I tried to become a vendor within all the school boards of Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
They told me no.
Mm-hmm.
But I found a different way.
And you're back in.
And I'm back in.
Yeah.
Bigger
Yes.
than anybody ever thought.
Sure.
So again, God said, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he took me from misery to where now, people are asking me for my opinion
Yeah.
on how do we do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like today, I was talking to someone at the school board that's like, Ron, the MOU is within our best interest. We're going to get this done real quick.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We got you is what they told me.
Sure.
And so if you told me a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm working on a massive MOU that's going to impact every school board in this country,
Yeah.
I'd say no way.
Yeah.
But here it is, because I didn't stop.
Yeah.
So when people chase you, it's okay to run,
Sure.
but you come back another day.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Ron. Number one, I want to thank you for joining us on this platform of BSTL. And of course, we are building something that lasts here. But I was listening to you on the conclusion to our conversation, and there are 4 words that you have used that I hope our audience is going to have as a takeaway. Number 1, dream. Number 2, learn. Number 3, make that call. And number 4, you've got to believe. I thank you for joining us today. And for those of you that have been listening, look, it's a practical conversation, but it's a powerful one because in the midst of life, in the midst of disappointments, Ron Kellman is still here because he refuses to quit. And because he refuses to quit, the God that he believes in, and we believe in the same God, Ron, that same God is still continuing to elevate you. If you'd like to have a bigger conversation about this, you know how you guys can reach me, bstlinc21@gmail.com. Send the message there. We'd love to have this conversation with you. But look, if you're going to go into unchartered waters, you have to be willing to get wet. And if you are, then the rest is going to be history. But you have to wait. It is going to come to pass. Until next time, see you all.
One last thing. Greg.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please tell them to go to look at gauntletroadtennis.com.
Yeah, say that one more time.
Gauntletroadtennis.com.
All right, cool. We'll make sure that everybody goes there. We'll also put it in the LinkedIn space there so that they capture this. Thanks, Ron. Until next time.
Thank you, brother.
All right, take care.
Bye.